evening. This is Carla from the Ministry for English Literacy for day 2 of our conference. And again, I have the most marvelous, wonderful team here working with me. I have Anish from Canada, Farah Fayez from Pakistan, Rosaline Khan from Los Angeles, California area, Huang, I cannot say the rest of your name, so you're Dr. Huang from Vietnam. She will tell us her name later. Amara Shah from Pakistan, Lahore, I believe. Victor Irving Jenkins from Sacramento, California, and quite a wise guy. Shireen Khan from Karachi, Pakistan, I believe, and quite a teacher in her own. Everyone's a great teacher in their own right. And Ali Raza Khan, our 14-year-old here from Sukar, he'll tell us later, Pakistan. And we are going to talk about the importance of communication, not only speaking, but listening. Now, before we were going live, first my dog had a lot to say, and you heard him barking, and he talks in dog language. And that dog language may not be really clear to us, but if we listen a little closer and we look at what's going on in the environment, we usually can figure out why he is barking and why he's being loud. Same thing with a cat. A cat will go, meow, meow, especially the one near me right now. He loves to talk. But if we listen, and that's the question, we always think, I have something to say and I want to say it now. And if I don't say it now, I'll never say it. But we're not listening to the conversation and what people are saying. And that is the point. And we all think differently. We all see words in a different way. And many people have heard me talk about the word house. A house could be an apartment in a big high rise. It could be a farmhouse. It can be a row house. But when we say that word, regardless, it has a different meaning for everyone. So part of listening is also being able to say, I don't understand. I don't know what is going on. Huang and I had that over a year ago where she'd come to my show and say something and I would say, what are you saying? You know, what's going on? And in time, we began to understand each other. I often tell people who come to my shows, speak slower. The sounds of the words are different depending on where you are coming from the language. And I can see it by how they spell their name, and then they tell me their name, and I'm like, where did that come from? But it came from the fact that we all think a little differently, and we all talk a little differently, whether we're speaking in English to English speakers or to Urdu speakers or to Vietnamese speakers. We need to stop and listen and give the person who is talking the right to speak. And I bring this up, I am confused by it at times. I want people to help me understand themselves better, or help me understand what they are saying to me better than how I think I understand them. So, having said that, that is the purpose of this conference. We're only opening up a tip of the iceberg here because it goes much further than what we're talking about right now. We're opening it up. Hopefully, the next time we have a conference, we will take it deeper and deeper. I'm really excited to hear Anish and Amara speak, because what they do and what they give to the world, they use a lot of visual understanding. They use a lot, they do it with fun. I can't wait for Anish and Amara to talk about what they actually do and show us their things. This is the excitement of being a part of this conference. This is the excitement of what we are speaking about and talking about in the world. If we could only communicate more completely throughout the world, what kind of world would we have? If we spoke to each other, people who are afraid of Muslims would speak to a few Muslims and find out that they're wonderful people. That happened to me. I knew nothing about Muslims except what the world was telling me. They're all bad people. They're all going to destroy us. Don't have them around you. But that's not true. They're very, very beautiful people when you get to know them and you've spoken to them. Jews and Catholics have arguments all the time too. Why don't we speak to each other? Because if we look at the world and what the world is all about, we'll see that we all want many of the same things. And many of the same things include love, happiness, peace. This can happen if we speak to each other. And that's why I do those interviews with people all around the world. It's why I interviewed everyone on this panel before they came, to add that feeling of confidence, add that feeling of togetherness. And remember, every morning you take it, not every morning, let's go back to the moment we were born. The first thing we do on this earth is take a breath in. And the last thing on this earth we do is to let out the breath. And when we let out that breath, we are connecting with everyone in the universe, everyone on this planet. And when we connect with everyone, then we begin creating a peaceful world. We create the world in our thoughts. We create the world with who we are. So let's begin creating it in our communication from one country to another, from one language to another. Right now, English is the global language. No. We don't know. 10 years ago, it may be Urdu. It may be Arabic. Who knows? So we're using English. Don't stop teaching people to speak in English. Don't stop teaching people to speak in your native tongue. Because when you speak in your native tongue, you are perpetuating the diversity in the world, which makes this world such a beautiful and wonderful place. And having said that, I would love for Anish Dea from Toronto, Canada, but he is originally Indian, to talk about what he does, because he really teaches in an amazing way that I've never seen before, but I am totally enthralled by it. Anish, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Carla, for having me on board this amazing stage and to be with all of you esteemed educators and passionate human beings. And before I begin, I'm just going to quickly share a quick story and then share with you. And with your help, we're going to provide everyone listening a toolkit, a functional language learning, listening and speaking toolkit provided by all of us for the greater good. So let's get going. So there I was, 22 years old, at the airport, boarded a plane, about to go to a foreign country, wearing an I Am Canadian jersey. You can see that. Yeah. I was excited. As the plane took off, that excitement soon turned into panic. Yes, panic. Wait, where am I going? What am I doing? I know nothing about the language, the culture, or anything about the country. In a sudden state of panic, I immediately turned to the person to my right. I said, excuse me, do you know Chinese? He replied, you mean Mandarin? I go, yeah, right, Mandarin, right, not Chinese. Can you teach me my numbers 1 to 10 in Mandarin? So looking at the sweat dripping down my face, he kindly agreed. Okay, Victor, ready? Can you say 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3.
Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, what do you guys hear? Amara's like, I just hear like Carla's dog. I just hear sounds. What is going on? So there I was, 33,000 feet in the air, practicing my numbers 1 to 10 with the flight attendants, waiting for, while I was in line at the bathroom. It's like, do you know your numbers 1 to 10? Oh, you don't? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the plane became my classroom. No joking, Rosaline. And those look really good, by the way. So as I landed in Taiwan, that excitement and confidence came back. I felt invincible. All right, here we go. I'm equipped with my numbers 1 to 10. So I grabbed my bags, and out of nowhere, Afera, you're not gonna believe what someone said. They said, 你是哪里来的? I replied, I just replied with the number 2 because that's all I was equipped with. So with a confused look on his face, he asked again, Victor, 你是哪里来的? What would you answer? 1, 2, or 3?
3.
3. There you go, right? So it was at that point, Victor and everyone else out there, that I realized that simply learning my numbers 1 to 10 wasn't going to help me survive, let alone thrive in this new country. So from that point forward, I told myself that I'd speak to so many people, and I immersed myself in the language and spoke to roughly 100 strangers a day, learning functional language that I needed to survive. And after a year, I was featured in the top 10 countdown of most interesting things that happened in Taiwan. My life was featured at number 7. They even gave me a nickname, Shireen. They called me Tai Ke. Do you know what that means, Shireen? No? Well, it means the foreigner who became Taiwanese. I've since dedicated my life to empowering thousands of students, have thousands of conversations on the streets of Toronto, and equip them with a language learning toolkit that enables them to become autonomous global citizens and teach them how to make any city their classroom. Hello, everyone. My name is Anish, and I am a language learning innovator, founding of an award-winning experiential language immersion program, best-selling author, and of course, a proud father of a 9-year-old beautiful daughter. And I'm honored and grateful to be here with you all, not just as a guest speaker today, but as a student of languages. Yes, I speak 7 languages, and I love them, and a student of life. So I'm here to share my language learning toolkit for better speaking and listening with you all. and of course, learn from you all. So here we go. You ready? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to jump into a shared screen, and here we go. So we have a toolkit, just like, you know, a good construction worker. What's in your language learning or communication or listening and speaking toolkit? Rosaline, what's one of the tools in your toolkit as a communicator?
It's the ability to listen, a pair of ears.
A pair of ears. And like it was said yesterday, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And you're doing a great job of listening. Thank you. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to share some parts of my toolkit as an effective language speaker and listener. So oxygen movement. Now, Carla knows we can't learn just sitting down all day. We learn in movement, in action. Oxygen flows to the brain. This is why, like Victor said yesterday with Cynthia, we breathe. We take deep breaths. So moving in motion and get that brain moving, which is why learning online can be a little bit of a challenge these days. So I'm going to ask Afera very quickly to close your eyes, and for 2 seconds, just take a deep breath. Afera, here we go. Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. I can feel your energy right now. Another thing that I like to do, that's something that Carla mentioned, we speak for clarity, for confirmation, for wondering what people are saying. So one of the things that I like to ask people, so let's just say, for example, if I said, Dr. Miss Huang, 你是哪国人?
你是外国人? No.
Right. So Miss Huang didn't know what I was saying, and we're speaking to listen and understand. So what Miss Huang could say is, I'm sorry, I couldn't catch that. Could you please say that again? Miss Huang, go ahead. 你是哪里来的?
Sorry, I didn't catch you. Please say it again.
Well, you didn't catch me, but you definitely caught my heart right now by asking for confirmation. And that's so powerful when we ask for confirmation, when we're learning. Now, directions, navigating a city. Is asking for directions important when traveling abroad? I can see Rosaline going, well, yeah, you know what? I ask directions in every country I go to, not really for directions, but actually to start and continue a conversation with people. So if I'm traveling around, I might ask someone, excuse me, where would I find, is it around here? We have a great coffee shop in Toronto. Where would I find, is it around here? So I'm just curious, Carla, where is some place in your hometown that I could find?
Coffee.
Okay, what's your favorite coffee shop?
I'm going to say Starbucks.
Oh boy, we don't want to promote Starbucks, but I would say, where would I find Starbucks? Is it around here? No worries, we'll take it. Now, something else that I love doing, and I definitely know, do you guys know Gadrut? Have you guys ever heard of Gadrut? Well, Gadrut is a boring. Huh? Boring. What's boring? Boring. Hi, everybody. My name is Oscar. I want to introduce you to one of my friends, Gadrut. Gadrut, are you there?
Hey, don't you dare call me Gajruk. My name is Gajruka.
Oh, Gajruka. Sorry, I know Gaj means.
Jay?
What does Gaj mean?
It means carrot.
I love eating carrots.
Don't you dare! You cannot eat me. But even if you say that, I don't care at all.
Well, Gadrut, we're talking about listening and communication. So could you please share a joke with us?
A joke?
Yes,
But
please.
I was thinking that I have a question for you. Now you tell me, what do you call a bunny with carrot in each ear?
What do you call a bunny with carrot in each ear? I know what.
You can think. Carla, can you think?
I don't know.
Hey, who will answer that?
Rabbit.
You can tell him anything. He won't listen to you.
Oh, no. Well, I have a joke for you, Gadruka.
Well, let's hear about it.
Okay. Why did the boy climb the tree with the hockey stick?
I don't know. You tell.
Well, to play with the maple leaves. Now, this is a funny joke because in Toronto, we have a hockey team called the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's a culturally relevant joke. So you can learn that Toronto's hockey team is called the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's amazing. You are really funny.
Thanks, Gadruka. Okay, I gotta go.
Bye.
That was a little bit of Oscar. And yeah, thank you, Oscar. No problem. Okay. So learning jokes, being able to tell jokes in another language is so important. It might just sound like sounds to you, but it could be super important. So for example, if I said, Michael Jackson no skina iro wa nan desu ka? So I said, what's Michael Jackson's favorite color? And you know what it is, Ali?
Black.
Ow! Now, ow in Japanese means blue. Ow in Japanese means blue. And I asked, what's Michael Jackson's favorite color? So now, like Carla's dog, we just hear sounds, but now everybody just learned the color for blue. And Rosaline will never forget the color blue in Japanese because it is. Ow! All right, there you go. So as part of this language learning toolkit, and I don't think I'll be able to even get to it all because I'm facing a yellow screen here. But jokes are so important. Something else that I love to do when learning another language for listening and speaking is learning quotes. Learning quotes in a language is so important. So I'm curious, Rosaline, do you have a quote for us today?
Rosaline, unmute yourself. Rosaline, we cannot hear you. Open up your mic.
I like to make proud entrances, so I'm here. I do have a quote here. It says, if you make listening and observation your occupation, you will gain.
Beautiful. Love it. And that's such an important quote because we're talking about listening as well. One of my favorite quotes is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And this is by Canada's most famous athlete and hockey player, Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, wow.
There you go. So being able to, share jokes, ask for navigation, confirmation, taking deep breaths in like Afara did, and also complimenting someone. So Shireen, could you go off mute for a second? And could you please compliment Ali Raza Khan, please?
Ali, you are an amazing person.
Beautiful. And just that energy right there, you can see Ali's like, give me more, shower me with more, please. complimenting and making people feel good is such a vital part of communication. And shouldn't we be doing that every day, complimenting, saying nice things to other people? Another thing that I like to do is talk about history and culture. Today, I talked a little bit about Japanese. I talked about Wayne Gretzky. I talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team. Everybody is in a constant state of learning because you all are listening attentively. And hopefully my delivery is enabling you to further listen to what I'm saying. So learning history and knowledge is so important. For example, Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. That's good to know. My province, Saskatchewan, is the largest producer of wheat and mustard in the world. That's good to know. Maybe it's not, but if you are talking with me, you might get that information. Something else I'm going to do, and I'm nearly done here. One other tool is asking a deep question. I find this very fun and just something that really dives a little bit deeper than just surface level. So I'm going to quickly ask Amara, when was the last time you cried?
An hour ago.
All right. Beautiful. And that's fine. She doesn't need to say anymore, but that's beautiful. But that question, if we were just talking one-on-one, might dive a little deeper. What happened? Are you okay now? You know, is there something I can support and help you with? Asking deep questions like, what would you say to your 14-year-old self? You know, being able to ask these deep questions would be great. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send my gratitude to everybody and thank you for having me. And I wish you all an abundance of love and light. And thank you, Ali, for monitoring us. And thank you, Carla, for all having us here. And I wish I could talk longer. And God bless you all. Thank you.
We will find more time for you, but for right now, Anish, I want you to tell you that was wonderful. I truly appreciate it, and thank you so very much for such a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
And thanks for saying hello to Oscar. I appreciate that.
Well, I love Oscar. Can you stop sharing your screen so we can allow the wonderful Amara and her puppet, who I forgot the name of, to speak now?
Yes.
And Amara, can you please open up your mic?
I think it's already open.
It is now. Go ahead, Amara.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Carla. And thank you everyone for having me here. It's a pleasure. Anish texted and he said that if he can ask his puppet can ask my puppet a joke. This at that time I was not very much happy, as I just told that I was not happy at that time because of my publishing error that just happened with the team I'm publishing my book, that I will tell you guys about later. But Anish texted and I kind of, it just cheered me up that, whoa, it feels like that I am not alone. The kind of work that I do is unique, and people especially where I live, I haven't seen people doing this, especially a woman, being a woman. Secondly, being an English grad, people usually become, grandiose kind of looking professors, decent people in suits telling English stories and teaching grammar. And, I kind of think differently. And that is that learning of a language happens by making proper use of it. So I like to create situations and environments in which learning can happen through interaction. And in order to do that, I thought that certain aids like puppets, like different props, and books that support and introduce new characters, the original characters to which natives of my area, natives of my country and city can relate to. That could be the maximum anxious-free environment for our kids to learn about a foreign language. Which is why I did introduce a puppet whose name is Gajruka. You can say hello. Hi, Gajruka. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So, I want to first of all talk about his name. Gajruka is actually is a derivative of a word gajar. The word gajar is a terminology that we use to explain, that is what we call carrots, right? In our own language. In Urdu mein gajar kehte hain. In Urdu, we call gajar to a carrot, right? So I have seen moms struggling with food issues. They have trouble feeding their kids, and carrot and peas and broccolis are something that kids can relate to. And why I chose this group of why I chose children to work with, because it's easy to make a child as a learned person instead of repairing broken men. So I just thought that it's the age. In their young years, children are more likely to learn language in a better way, and which I have also experienced in my public shows. So developing a carrot character was encouraging, enthusiastic, because initially I made a very simple kind of a puppet by hand sewing. It looked almost like a chili. It wasn't very much like a carrot because I didn't have very good sewing and crafting skills back then. I wish I could share the picture, but this one is more better, so I brought him. It was a struggle to produce this character in form of a book, which I later did, and in form of a puppet as a character, because when an idea is abstract and more of a fiction, it's very much hard for two creative people to work on it. And I luckily found someone who is a digital artist. She's very talented. She basically designed this. I gave the idea, design, and she made it. And we were able to produce this book as a resource of language learning. And this book is called Gajruka Ka Sawal. And what is Sawal? Sawal means question. So Gajruka asks certain questions. Now, what could be those questions? I'll tell you about them. And why did I choose this topic? Because when children are, when in their childhood, people do think about everybody, regardless of the language, regardless of the religion, they talk about who am I, where have I come from, what is the purpose of my life. And in this book, our Gajruka asked these questions from his grandfather, Gajar Dada. And Gajar Dada and Gajruka, who lives in an underground carrot world, which is called Carrotopia, this is a little glimpse of the world. This is Gajar Dada surrounded by so many carrots. And there they're asking that Gajar Dada, what are these voices that are coming from over the ground? You see, imagination of over the ground and existence of a world under the ground. Okay, Rosaline, I'll answer your question. Takes a child's imagination through a language to next level. This is a child, any child who is sowing a seed. See it closely. And these voices of digging and spading are heard under the ground by these people living in Keratopia. Now, Gajar Dada. Dada is a word that we use for grandfather. So this Gajar Dada is grandfather of Gajruka. Now you understand there's a whole family politics is happening underground. There was also another thing that I had to inculcate in my style of design of a book, which was infusing basic scientific concepts in order to improve the vocabulary. And while doing that, it was important for me to stay connected to the process of a child's thought process. And we made this painting in which a carrot is growing from a seed, and this painting, which is just another day of a carrot's world, you see it, but we call it seed germination. And now imagine those boring classes of science and biology where we have learned long questions and MCQs questions of seed germination and photosynthesis. Now, speaking of photosynthesis, kids do ask, what does carrot eat? How do they make their food? Who gives them food under the soil? This is a painting for answering all those questions. You see, this is a painting in which a carrot is growing from a seed to a fully grown up adult carrot. And you can see 4 elements of nature: sun, shine, air, water, earth, and of course, fire like sunshine. You see this? All these paintings were, of course, this is actually a story. But you see, if you see every painting individually, you can see each drawing is telling you a whole story. Now, this is a resource book that we use while me, and I have other people are now following this book to tell stories. And we do this to educate our children about language of Urdu, which is our local language. And our prototype is ready, and we are going to translate this in English. And this is good, and we're going to be available for everybody on Amazon. Also, this book has an activity session. If anybody of you wants to learn more about the details of the book, you can ask me. And thank you very much for the hearts and for the love. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening to me. You can ask anything if you want. Thank you everybody.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? Because I can pour into this easily. Rosaline, go ahead.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for such a phenomenal presentation. I don't know how old you are, but you are absolutely amazing. So my first question for you is, how old are the children? Are you talking about 6 to 8, 8 to 10? And was writing something that always came from your family, or was this just an interest that grew out of just something that you saw?
I saw there was a serious kind of a gap in society. Nobody is working on such kind of a work. I studied English literature and then language teaching, then linguistics, then I did my master, then I did MS. And I found nobody is doing such work, especially in my country, in my domain, in my local language. So this is something I created. I saw people working on different domains, a very good kind of work, but puppetry, educating a language in a stress-free environment. So I had to do this. And I am, the book is designed for preteens, because these are the questions that when children are in their preteens, less than 13 years, above 5-7 years, they do question their existence. And they do think on stuff that why are the plants, where are they getting food from? We eat, do they eat? When we eat carrots, like there is this line in this, there is this portion where carrots, a kid who sow the seed, he gets frustrated and he says, I won't eat the carrot. If I eat the carrot will be hurt and it will have the pain. And the father, who is the father voice, these are voices, no human characters are there in the book. So the father voice said, no, carrot doesn't feel pain. It's for carrot, eating is just like a tickling. And it was just, it's actually is written in a joke form. So all the frustration of what happened to them if we it is.
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you so much for your incredible talent and your gift to humanity. I love it. Thank you.
Yes, Amara, you are amazing. I want to thank you so very, very much. And we'll need to find a way to give you a few extra moments at the end, but we need to move on now. The next speaker is View Attitudes, because he has a great attitude, but his real name is Victor Irving Jenkins. He has been working as a DoorDasher. He was in the military for many, many years. I don't remember how many right now. And he absolutely loves to talk and can talk on any topic thrown at him. Victor, you may have the stage.
Thank you very much for making me a part of this conference. I am ecstatic to be here. And like you say, any chance I get to open my pie hole, I am probably going to be ecstatic. In terms of communication, we are the crux of our communication. Whatever it is that we are communicating, we are the vehicle that's being used to do the communication. For instance, we are sending a message from us to someone else, and we, all of us on this program, are using English, and English happens to be my specialty. If you have an appliance and you have an electric cord that plugs into the wall, the electric cord transmits the current from the wall to the appliance, so it'll work. The cord doesn't have anything to do with the message. The cord is just the vehicle that the current goes through. However, if the cord is frayed or if the cord is not continuous, then the message or the current is going to be altered. In fact, if the cord is not in tip-top shape, you can get a shock, a spark, and you can burn the whole house down. So the messenger, you or me, as we are speaking and delivering our message, who we are being, how we are, is going to determine how accurate the message is, whatever it is that the message that you want to send. Now keep in mind, the message, in order for you to be your best, you have to be pretty confident. And this is something that most of us have to work on. So if you want to be an exceptional communicator, the first thing you have to be is confident, right? Now, how do you develop confidence? Well, that's another broadcast at another time. But look at it this way. When I was a kid, I didn't know anything about confidence. I didn't know anything about how to transmit messages. All I knew was that I was reacting to the stimulus that I was giving. Now, many of us, we know how to communicate. We know how to send a message. But boy, sometimes when the person is sending a message to us, it impacts how we respond to them. And that's called triggering. So if we want to be an effective communicator, one thing that we must know, we must avoid triggering the person that we're sending the message to. And the more that we know about the person we're sending a message to, the less of the chances that we're going to trigger them. And of course, it goes without saying that we don't want to be triggered either. I used to work in a hospital. I was a registered nurse. I was a critical care registered nurse, and I saved people's lives and changed people's world. Now, before you give me too much credit for being a heartfelt, really kind and compassionate registered nurse, because if any of you have been in the hospital, you've had experiences with nurses. But before you give me any of that credit, let me make one thing clear. I was an adrenaline junkie. If you had a stomach ache or a headache or something that wasn't going to kill you, I wasn't the guy. You wanted a different guy, because me, I wanted to save your life. I wanted you to come in with a knife hanging out of your chest. I wanted you to come in with somebody shot you. That's what I really like to do as a registered nurse. Anyway, that's enough about nursing. For the first few years that I was in nursing, it was difficult for me to get cooperation because I was triggering people without really knowing it. For instance, if I wanted someone to hand me something, or if I wanted someone to do something, so I wanted someone to go take the patient's temperature in room 6. Well, I would say, go take the patient's temperature in room 6. That's pretty clear, isn't it? Nod your head, right? That's pretty clear. Go take the person's temperature in room 6. And then over a period of time, I got to notice this little phrase that people were using that I wasn't using. And the absence of that little phrase made the difference in people being triggered when I asked them to do something and not. Because see, when I asked them to do something, they decided I was bossy, I was arrogant, I was this, I was that. And you know, when you're communicating with folks, you just want an open receptacle to receive your message. So then I found out about the inimitable, the great big, when you get a chance. When you get a chance. So instead of saying, go take the patient's temperature in room 6, I was to say, when you get a chance, go take the patient's temperature in room 6. Now, I was an RN on duty, and there were people who weren't RNs, people who were on the team of taking care of patients. So I was sort of say the boss. I had the power, which brings me to the main thing I wanted to talk about, something called power distance index. All of us know that power is distributed unequally, don't we? We know that different people have different layers of power, but the power distance index is a concept that a guy named Hofstadter developed years ago, because some groups, some families, they're okay with power being distributed unequally. And yet there's other groups, other countries, other families that's not okay with it. So the power distance index is the degree to which the people without power accept the fact that the people with power have the power. So to give you an example, me being a registered nurse and them not being a registered nurse, if you got a high power distance index, that means that the people with power have all of it and the people with power have none of it. I say, go take the patient's temperature in room 6, and you don't think anything about it, you just go ahead and do it, right? If you got a low power distance index environment, well, why do I have to go take the patient's temperature in room 6? And they're not being rebellious. They're not causing difficulty. They're just doing what they know how to do. So in a high power distance index environment, the person in charge knows that they're in charge, and the person that's not in charge knows that they're not in charge, and they're okay with it. In a low power distance index, the person in charge, he better make sure that the person who's not in charge feels as though they got something to say about the outcome. So you can see how that can impact your communication with someone if you come from an environment of high power distance index and you're talking to someone who comes from an environment of low power distance index. And it doesn't matter whether you're the one with the power or the one without the power, because if you come from an environment of a high power distance index and you're the one without the power, well, you just expect the people in charge to make all the decisions. And you expect the people in charge to tell you what to do. as opposed to asking you what to do. So in my last few seconds to give you an insight on where I stand, the United States of America is a low power distance index environment, which means that in the United States of America, anybody on the street can walk up to the president and says, dude, this is what I think, and think nothing of it. Other countries have high power distance index where they would no more buck the system in terms of their boss than they would stand on their head. So the concept of the high power distance index and the low power index cannot be avoided. And the more you know about the person that you are speaking to, the better off you are. Unfortunately for me, I live in a low power distance index environment, but I grew up in a high power distance index environment. And if you got a chance to say anything to your parents about how things go, you also came from a low power distance index. Not me, Jack. What they said went, and even right now, I fight the urge to be obedient. I fight the urge to just do what I'm told. And I want to thank you very much for having me in this conference. And I wish I could talk more about the power distance index. Back to you, Carla. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, Victor, that was exceptional. I love your energy. I've always said this before. And I love the vibe of being around you. You speak amazingly. Now, here's my question to you. Now, I'm sure all of us can agree that Victor speaks exceptionally. I mean, his English, his communication skills are just impeccable. So Victor, what is that one piece of advice that you'd like to give out to someone who's just beginning to learn any language, who's just beginning, for example, learning English? What is that something that has worked for you incredibly that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, my communication has improved along with my degree of confidence. You have got to have the confidence that it's going to work out. You have got to believe that however it's supposed to be, it will be. And you have got to, above everything else, eliminate your triggers. Come from a place of love. Come from a place of where you are concerned about the outcome, not how you're concerned about how you feel. And if you are communicating with someone and you find yourself feeling a little odd, feeling a little triggered, understand that all feelings are temporary unless you resist them.
Very well answered. Thank you so much. And everyone watching, they're loving your talk. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else with any question?
Rosaline says,
Rosaline,
what skill
please.
or knowledge has worked through all your jobs?
Now, you've done many different things in your life. You talked about being a nurse. You talked about being in the military. You talked about being a door dasher. If there was one through thread, that miracle that helped you in all of those, what would you say it would be?
Folks, man, I'm a people guy. Any excuse I can have to give a conversation to somebody, I'm going to give the conversation. And over the period of time that I've been alive, I've also gotten much better at listening to the people I'm interacting with. And I shudder to say this in front of God and everybody, but the main reason that I listen to people is so I know how to sell them what I got, because what I got is going to help them.
Victor, you are always quite amazing. And I liked your idea of power and non-power. How, when you are in a situation where you need to respond and you are a non-power person and you have very few seconds to answer it, how do you make that decision?
The decision actually is made from the position of the person without the power. So it would depend on whether you were the one with the power or without the power. Because if you got the power, exert it. And if you don't have the power, receive it.
Thank you. And is it time, Allie?
We have a few seconds. If there's anything that Victor wants to say, any concluding message, precise, you're more than, I'd really appreciate you, Victor.
I just want to encourage everybody to understand that you live your life from behind your eyeballs, and nobody else knows what's behind your eyeballs except you. However, a lot of times people act as though they know what's behind your eyeballs by telling you this or telling you that. I spent a great deal of my life going up and down, up and down, up and down, trying, depending on what I was told the day before. You have to decide where you're going to be and be there.
And thank you so very much, Victor. And we will all work on being there for the future. And with that, we're going on to our next speaker, who is a 3 times TEDx speaker. It's Rosaline Khan, and she is from Los Angeles, California. And I'm just getting to know her. She's a rather cool lady. And she may be surprised to have me say that. Rosaline, please take the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words, Carla. I just want to thank you for including me on this distinguished stage with all these luminaries. These are really some of the finest people in the world. And what I admire and respect about you is your ability to connect with people from all different corners so we can have the chance to learn how English is learned and mastered in many parts. So kudos to everyone here. Today, I've chosen a couple things to share with you. I want to share with you my life as a professor in the college, some of the things I've learned. I want to talk about some different practices about the field of communication. And lastly, we're going to focus on some barriers and some ways that we can overcome our listening challenges. Are we ready? Let's go. Okay, so life as a professor, one of my favorite classes to teach is I love teaching English as a second language. And some of the things that made that class so fun is at one of the colleges I taught, we had a communication dialogue. So pretend that we were in that class today, and I'm going to call on several people in the audience who have no idea that I'm going to call on them. And I'm going to say, dear class, what would you like to go ahead and talk about today? So Afera, could you tell me what you would like to talk about today? What should we talk about today? And Afera says,
I'd like to talk, how about fashion?
Fashion. Well, fashion is really cool stuff. Now, when you think about fashion in the world, what are certain things in your country that we need to have as fashion statements?
Fashion statements around the world, or just a particular region?
In your region, what would be the classic fashion in your country? Would it be the colors that you wear, the styles?
The style, that's shalwar kameez, the attire, and the dupatta, which I'm wearing, and I guess Shireen is also wearing. So that's basically, that would be a fashion statement. You can wear it with jeans, you can wear it with other attires as well. So dupatta, I would say, or shawl.
Can you like stand up a little bit so I can see it a little bit more? I can't quite see it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. Very lovely. Thank you so much. And if we were to go to you, Anish, what would you find would be a subject that we could talk about? What would you suggest? What would you like to discuss today?
How about experiential language immersion?
And what would that involve? What do you think?
It would involve experiencing a language through your surroundings and your surrounding environment and using that to become a better communicator.
What might be an example?
Well, for example, as I was mentioning earlier, asking for directions and navigating the city and asking someone, where would I find this or where would I find that? Is it around here? How long does it take to get there? Is it walking distance? Oh, it's about a 5-minute walk. Oh, that's good to know.
Cool. And so we see in just these couple of examples, I taught this communication dialogue, and it was my favorite because you never knew when you walked into a classroom what you were going to hear, what you were going to learn, or what you were going to talk about. And it was incredible. And then I fast forward to, we saw examples of this today. And wherever you are, you're going to know it because you loved it just as much as I did. I love the production that Anish did and Amara did with their pets. I found that taking my students to the theater, Los Angeles City College has one of the best theater programs in the whole entire city, better than some of the Broadway shows. I would take my students to the theater, and they found it was the greatest tools to learn the language. And here's how we made it work. One of the things I did is I showed my students a video at one time. It was called The 12 Angry Men. And the 12 Angry Men, for those of you who don't know, it's a story about a jury, and a jury has to decide, is the man guilty or is he innocent? And they go through all these different characters and so on and so forth. And class is only an hour and 45 minutes, and we couldn't possibly get to the end of the video. And so my students went out and they went to the library and they downloaded the video. We're talking about motivating students to learn outside the classroom, and watch the end of it so they could figure out when they went to the theater what that movie was all about. And it was beautiful, beautiful. There was another example of a movie that was on Jackie Robinson. And they were talking about a park in Los Angeles that Jackie Robinson had built for the kids in Los Angeles to go ahead and play baseball and things like that. And it was a beautiful opportunity for them to see and understand, what are race relationships from one country to the other country? How can we learn to understand one another? There was one other one. The book was called Cut. And it was about young girls going ahead and cutting their arms and the tragedy that we saw in our society. We bought a book and we shared it around our classroom so students could learn. And so what I'm talking about here is, what are different innovative ways? We talk about theaters, we talk about reading. Another thing I had my students do was I had my students do research. And this is going back because unfortunately I don't teach ESL anymore. But my students looked at the case of the election when the election was challenged. And here were students fighting for the ability to comprehend the language and looking at the biggest legal case where President Bush won and it was challenged, and they were going ahead and talking about that. But you see, life continues today, because in my class today, there was a student who had a program and it was called Minecraft Education. And Minecraft Education is a way, it's a video game that they're using tools in education that a student of mine presented in a public speaking and showed a video where the principal of the school was throwing a rectangular vehicle to a student who caught the ball, looked at it, and answered the question. And it's talking about one of the things we mentioned here about making learning fun. Making learning really as a fun activity. When you make it fun, people really go ahead and learn. So we talked about my life as an educator. Secondly, I want to go ahead and give you a lesson, a quick lesson on barriers, because yesterday we talked about listening and we talked about some of the reasons why we can't listen and what stops us from listening. And one of those factors is distractions, daydreaming. You know, I remember when I was on a platform with Al-Razi Khan, and we were talking about world young leaders internationally. And as it went on and on and on and on, you know, I'm like, how am I going to keep these people awake? How am I going to stay awake? It was my turn. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rosaline Khan. I'm so excited to see all you, each and every one of you. And it's finding a reason. And so one of the ways that we avoid distractions, one of the tools I'd like to teach you is every situation is an opportunity to learn. And if you go in each situation, you say, what can I learn and take away from this situation? Even when it's the most abstract and hardest thing, what is the tool that you can take away and walk away and make a part of you? Because if we learn each and every day, we keep ourselves from growing. One other thing I want to tell you about is about the ability to compare. You are the best version of yourself, and there's no reason that you should compare yourself to each and any other person on this platform, because we are all gifts. And don't allow yourself to degrade yourself because someone else went ahead and did it better. And so when we talk about tools to do, one of the tools of communication is, if you notice, when we're talking about video communication, I am looking at the 12 o'clock. The 12 o'clock is the light in front of my camera. In this video communication that we're talking about today, different than regular communication, you want to have your eyes on the audience that are out there listening to you. If I take my eyes and I look at the screen, my eyes are downcast and you're looking at the top of my head. So in today's communication, you want to look at that 12 o'clock. You want to look at those people out there. My name is Rosaline Khan. There is so much more that I want to share with you, but hopefully you gained in the information about some of these tools that you can take in your classroom, of how you can make learning fun, how you can ingratiate the people that you're with, some of the barriers and some of the strategies. My name is Rosaline Khan. There's a book in the back that tells you about tomorrow's leaders. You can look at it and find out why I'm so passionate about young kids. They are the change makers in our world. So does anybody have any questions?
I do, very quickly, Rosaline. And thank you so much for sharing your passion, knowledge, and wisdom with us all. It's very insightful. I'm very honored for you to speak on all of this. And, you know, I've dedicated my entire life to experiential language learning and full immersion. And I'm curious, how can we further spread that notion of life happens not always sitting down, or learning happens not always sitting down in the classroom, but the real learning happens once we step outside the comforts of a classroom and getting out there. And a lot of students say, oh, just go out and practice with strangers. You can't just throw students in the deep end like that, which is why we have language coaches to guide them through the process of language acquisition. What's your recommendation to further get out this idea of getting out and using your English?
Well, I think I laughed when you said something about asking for directions. So I want to share with you what that was about. I was at in Los Angeles in the Century City Plaza not Century City Plaza, the shopping center where the LA Marathon was yesterday. And they have this monstrous, huge parking lot. And I got out of my car and I said, I thought I should take a picture, but I didn't. And there's an adage that men will not ask for directions, but women will. So I go up to the guy at the coffee booth and I say, my car. I got out of the car. It was P1 green. The red side was the shopping and the green side was the stores. Where's my car? You go to this elevator and you go down, and I go down. And so I get my directions. Well, needless to say, I was about an hour looking for my car, and I'm getting nervous. And I'm like, the red side was here, the green side was there. I know it was P1 green. And after going up and down the green everywhere, each and everywhere, and I'm telling the lady, I'm teaching her as we're going, you know, a man would go ahead and ask questions, a woman wouldn't go ahead and ask questions. This is really why you want to go ahead and ask the questions, and so on and so forth. And they say to me when we finish and we get to my car, you know, you really should take a picture of that so you remember. So Ali said, we hear voices in our head, but we don't often listen to what those voices in our head say. And I say this because my name is Rosaline Khan. I've got degrees, I've got accolades. And sometimes the simple thing of following directions just goes down the rimrod. You know, we can't do it. Or before I got on the platform today, I wanted to find this thing that I knew that if I shared this with you on Minecraft education, that it would show you that things don't always have to be reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I motivate and I inspire my students. When you give a speech in my class, tell us something different. I had 3 students who wanted to go ahead and give a speech on health. One of them gave a speech on psychology. Another one gave a speech on sleep. And this student gave a speech on Minecraft. If you raise the bar, students will come to that bar. I am sometimes a tough teacher, but I promise you, one of my toughest students in my class comes from an Indian background. And I want to make you happy, Professor Khan. I want to make you happy. What can I do to make you happy? And so she's always going ahead and sending these revisions and these redrafts. And if you open up your heart that the world truly wants to learn and you give them the lessons, the student will come. Does that answer your question? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Rosaline. Beautiful.
Yeah, awesome. Affair, I see your hand is up.
Yes, I would like to ask Rosaline, you talked about how to avoid distractions. And you also talked about you have taken classes of young age students. I want to know, dealing with early age, like Montessori, from 3 to 7, they like attention a lot. So how do you help them keep away from distractions? During the class, you talked about some of the techniques. If you can share some techniques we can use for early learners, that would be great.
Fantastic. One of the things you don't know about me is working with young kids are my favorite, to people who are up in the older ages. And so the young kids, you got to keep it fun. when they're going ahead and getting distraction. Okay, guys, let's stand up and let's play Simon Says. Simon says. Simon says, put your hand on your toes. Simon says, put your hand here. Simon says, do this. Simon says, do that. And when they get really restless, okay, we're going to do a stretch break. I want everyone to stand up. I want you to put your hands above your head and stretch, reach out to the sky, shake your hands and go over here and shake your hands over here. And we're going to go ahead and march, 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 march. And so you've got to remember that their attention span is 3 to 5 minutes. And if you can get them moving, okay, now is time we're going to go ahead and practice our breathing. Everyone take a nice deep breath. Everybody inhale. Blow it out, blow the house down. And so if you know that students have those short little attention spans, do exercise, do breathing, sing a song. Okay, let's do Row, Row Your Boat right now. Okay, everybody, you know the song, really simple. Row, row, row your boat. Okay, we're gonna go 3 groups. 1, 2, 3. And you get the different groups going at different times. I've used this with kids. I've used this in ESL classes. It's just make it fun and have fun with them. Who can put on a smiley face? Let's see who can do the prettiest smiley face. Who can go ahead and look like they're really mad at their mommy? Who can go ahead and look like they're surprised? Wow. And then you go ahead and you give them little buttons, little stickers, little things, or appreciation, gratitude, acknowledge them. It doesn't cost to recognize what a student has done. You can say, oh my God, Susie, that was the best smiley face I've ever seen. Let's see if we can get everyone else to do a smiley face like Susie did. Can we all do that now? You think that'll work?
I think all of those ideas are great, but it's not only limited to young children. It should be limited. It should include all people, because when we find fun in learning, we learn.
Well, it's exactly true, because like I said, in my ESL classes, I would have students from 17 to 65. And I would say, we need to listen to Mrs. So-and-so because she's had such vast skills in her life. And when you're able to listen to many people from all walks, gotta go.
Yeah, sorry. Everyone's going a little over, so I have to do this, but you all are so very, very, very wonderful. And with that, my friend Hoang, who is from Vietnam, she has been teaching finances and economy for the past 17 years, I believe. And she is determined to help the people in Vietnam feel comfortable speaking in English. Not only Vietnam, all of South Asia. And one thing that I've noticed with Hoang over the year plus I've known her is that it made me more sensitive to understanding what she wants to communicate, or anyone from a second language wants to communicate. And we all need to learn to stop and really listen to the words. Hoang, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Carla, and everyone. Oh my God, thank you for giving me the chance to talk here and also to participate in this wonderful session. Yes, to listen to all of you here with amazing sharing and experience, you know. So to come to this session, I just have few things to share, to talk here. Firstly, I want to talk about myself and also some idea about my occupation, my career, and also some small messages to my students and people around me about listening and speaking, and especially in English. So first of all, my name is Hương. Yes, I'm from Vietnam. And I'm living and working in a city is about 100 kilometers away from home, away from Hanoi, the capital of my country. And it's also a little bit remote and mountainous location, but I have been teaching and living here for more than 17 years with more than 10,000 students. They are from different countries and different provinces, such as from Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Korea, and of course, Vietnam, right? So yes, so I'm very happy to be here to support my students and people in this location. So come back to our topic today with my career. I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer in a government university. So yes, these two techniques, skills are very important for us and also for everyone, right? And I think that's first of all, I want to share about my experience when talking here and communicating with Carla in the section in the show, her show. You know, the first time when talking and seeing her, I'm like a speechless people. I don't know how to talk. And, you know, but I never give up. I keep joining her section, her show to listen more, to listen to her show and people from her shows. And also, you know, the technique from listening helped me a lot. When listening to her, I mean, patiently and actively. Of course, I took my pen and like a piece of paper to write down all these things, interesting thing here right now. I don't know how many pages I have written down, but I have gained a lot of knowledge and information from her ideas, her thoughts, and also different people from different country and different culture as well. That's amazing experience and lessons for me as well. And you know, when listening, I can organize and structure my presentation, my sharing as well. And I will go for the right way and the right topic when sharing with people. And Carla helped me a lot. She has helped me and keep sharing with people. So that's why I follow her orientation to help people around me, especially to learn English as my ways. So right now, I'm supporting people from different countries with Zoom meeting. I mean, 90 minutes Zoom meeting every day from Monday to Saturday. Actually, we also have small kids show on Sunday. Yeah, so every day we keep learning and listening to people when they talk in English. So that's why when we go for speaking, that's why we can transfer from our thoughts, from our idea to speaking, right? So to make and let people understand you, that kind of moving out of the comfort zone when you express your idea, your thoughts to let other people understand you. So that's why I always moderate myself, and also I have to it's kind of communication. So just share some few things, but well organized. And also when being a teacher, I have to remind myself that you should control your emotions, your feelings when talking with people. Especially you are a teacher, like an educator. So if you show your angry words or all words said in anger are like a scars, right? So that's why I consider that verbal wounds. So sometimes we can assess our student, but in a proper way and with different kind of students, we should give them different comments. So that's why here we apply different methods, I mean teaching methodologies with different groups as well. And because we are not perfect, right? So I also accept my perfection, my imperfection, and also my mistake. I'm not afraid of making mistakes, but in the real life, as the first time when meeting Carla, I am really afraid. I was really afraid of making mistakes. So I didn't know how to talk because I afraid of people will judge me. So that's like my experience in life. But right now, I can share with people that we are all making mistakes, and we are all imperfect. So that's why we should accept. And for me as well, I'm doing my best, and I'm not worried about the rest. That's my information, my message to other people. Just keep improving. Yes, ahead. Thank you.
Hoang, you are so amazing. I have watched you grow from just, I'm afraid to say hello, to speaking like you just did. How do you feel now with how far you've grown?
Actually, I can't express my feelings right now. I'm so happy to know you, to be honest, because we never met in person, and also we are living from very long distance and different culture, I can say, but we are like running, and we are getting together for almost 2 years, for so long, right? Such a long journey, but we can communicate, we can talk, we can listen to each other. Even I was so surprised when you called me. So I like I'm speechless right now. I'm so happy and moved. Yeah. Yeah. I don't believe that.
Victor would like to know how you went from being a doctor to teaching English. Explain your doctorate, please. Do you understand the question?
Sorry, what did you say for Victor? Victor asked me, right?
It's yeah. Rosaline. Rosaline wanted to know, you are a doctor and you're also a teacher. How did you make the transition from one field to the other field?
Thank you so much for asking me. Actually, I'm a doctor, but with my doctorate degree in economics, not my medical doctor. So that's why in my university, they need a teacher. They ask teacher, request teacher to study more and to get that degree. Actually, I got this doctorate degree in 2015. Yeah, I mean 6 years ago. And after that, I got the Fulbright scholarship to study in India about international business. Yeah, with my Fulbright scholarship. Yeah, so that's my doctor degree, not in a medical degree. Yep. Thank you.
And Afira has a really, really good question, and I want her to ask it instead of me. I think it would be better coming from her. Afira.
Thank you, Carla. I would like to ask you that you mentioned that initially when you met Carla, you had difficulty speaking with knowing that you may make mistakes. For people out there who think exactly the same, what piece of advice would you give them so that they can speak confidently to you like you do today?
Okay, thank you so much for asking me that. Yes, I have said that the first time I met Carla, I couldn't speak and I couldn't open my mouth as well. Yeah. You know, because in Vietnam, we don't have any habits to talk in English on the daily basis. And also, we don't consider English as a second language or like anything. Even students or teachers, they need English, but they don't want to practice, or they have a lot of like a hesitation to talk. And you know, for me as well, when talking with foreigners in English, they stare at me, even that, right? So, so, but I'm doing my best. I always talk with my international friends, and I talk to my students, and I engage them. I engage my students into the conversation with my teacher, with my friends. I mean, international friends, yeah, to encourage them, to push them to talk. 1, 2, 3 words.
Halong, thank you so very much, but we need to move on now. You are absolutely amazing, and I want you to know how much I really, really appreciate you. Thank you. And Shireen. Shireen is from Karachi, Pakistan. I actually met her in a WhatsApp group that Rehan Allahwala asked me to join. And I think we both have left the group since then. But Shireen teaches English, I think, individually to people. She'll explain, and she has a lot to offer this conference also. Thank you, Shireen, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much. And with permission from all my elders and experienced people here, I would begin. Knowledge applied is knowledge learned. That is one of my most heartfelt, passionate quotes that I adhere to. When I was growing up, I grew up in a house in which my mother is Turkish and my father is Pakistani. So I grew up in an international culture, and my mother loved English movies, but she did not know English. So it was up to us that we were supposed to listen to English movies and then instantaneously translate it to her, because she would, what did they say? What happened? What happened next? What are they saying? What's happening? So we were supposed to listen attentively. That was my first lesson on learning that listening was so important. My father tried a lot that we speak in English, but eventually after second or third sentence, we were again speaking in our local language. That was one of the difficult parts. And as we moved on, I loved books. My father loved books, and sometimes he would read out strips. We had a toy projector through which he would put on the slides, and we would have big pictures of Bambi and different stories. And then he would speak them out or sometimes read to me in different accents. So that was my lesson number 2, which helped me in overcoming the hesitation and developing fluency of reading. So we would watch movies and then mimic that. And like, for example, King and I, what is this face you put on? You know, those guys. So watching those movies, again, I have lost count how many times we have watched that. And Lion King, my daughter used to love it, and it was like at least 25 times was the minimum amount. And then with additional child, I have 5 kids. So with additional child, it was rewatching that movie a number of times. So what we learned was developing how to overcome hesitation and developing fluency. So taking all these life lessons, I started applying it to my students. For the past 25 years, I've been a social entrepreneur. I help struggling students to learn how to learn in different ways. I created games. I wrote books, about at least 8 of them, to develop how to learn phonics. I compiled a phonics book which has English letters, Urdu letters, and Arabic so that they could learn spellings, because that is a really difficult part. In English, the sequence is different. It's taught in the most modern methods, but Urdu is taught with the traditional method. So my kids used to get very confused with the accents and spellings. They really struggled with that. So helping them, I ended up creating books and systems of learning that has helped students. And then I created words in mathematical progression, with which I taught them to learn 2 sound words, which were senseful, and then building that up to 3-letter words and 4-letter words and so on. So while I was on the bed rest with my every pregnancy, me and my dictionary were the things I would love to go through each and every page. And I listed down all those words with sheets of paper all there. And it just became a thing, a lifelong project for me. So applying all these things, eventually I landed up with Mr. Abbas Hussain, who's the director of Teachers Development Center. And he taught me a phenomenal revolutionary method of teaching English, which is called IMLS, which means Integrated Model of Language Skills. And there I finally learned that when we learn unrelated words and we don't understand the concepts, the students struggle. So that gave me answers of why I had struggled with grammar especially. And so understanding that what it teaches is, it teaches to recognize texts. Like there are 3 types of texts. There are narrations, which are always in a past tense. There are descriptions, which are always in present tense. Similarly, there are instructions, which are also in present tense. So it became so easy to learn that when I started teaching that system to people, sometimes I gave just 1 hour session. I was doing it in SPELT International Conference, which is a Society of Pakistan for English Language Teachers. I'm a lifetime member of that. And I was there in the international conferences for 5 to 6 consecutive years, approximately. So that one workshop was so impactful. When I did a follow-up with people after a year, they said they still remembered that 1 hour workshop and what they learned, and the concepts had become so easy. It's helping mothers also to learn that and then teach their kids. So sometimes mothers have cried, oh my God, my poor child was struggling. If only I knew this earlier, but it's never too late. So now they are really enjoying their time. The mothers are enjoying their time. The students are enjoying their time. The teachers are enjoying teaching their students. So this is something I really love. And what I did was that I applied this IMLS to our local language. So I am now doing research for the past 7-8 years and applying it to Urdu, so that the kids who are struggling with our local language, strangely, because they are learning about 8 subjects in English, but only 1 subject in their local language. And I've had students to whom I have taught Urdu in English. I have had students to whom I have taught English in Urdu in a way that they can understand, and they have been able to develop that. I've even taught domestic helpers kids with this method, and they have developed sense of learning and improved. So my students majorly take maximum 1 or 2 months maximum to learn the concepts and to start applying it. And I had a student about a month ago who was really into rote learning. I helped her to overcome that rote learning habit, and now she knows what subject, verb, object is in a very simple manner of who did what. So she knows that there's a name and there is an action and there is a name again. And in that way, she overcomes, she can understand, she can comprehend better. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay. Anyone? Rosaline.
Rosaline.
Okay, you talked about how the Urdu language was very different than the others, and it was opposite the way that the English language. I know that English goes from right to left, and I know that the Hebrew language goes from left to right. Does Urdu follow that? The left to right?
English goes from left to right, and Urdu goes from right to left. And
okay.
And even the sequence, like it's not subject, verb, object. It's subject, object, verb. The verb always comes in the end. So when students were translating, they had difficulty because they wanted to translate word by word.
Right.
Which is not true. Yeah, and the same is with Turkish also.
One other quick question. What language family is Urdu in? I know that English is part of the...
It's a combination of approximately 22 languages because it started in an army. It's Urdu means army. So that's how there were so many different languages speaking people. So it has Persian, it has Hindi, it has English words also in it. It's a amalgamation of several languages.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever practice what's called the learning where you use objects and you like throw it, and you throw a ball at the person, you say catch, and you go catch, or simple things where you use your body for motions to teach them the language? Have you ever used those strategies?
I am developing that. Mostly I have not taught in classroom setup for a very long time. That was very short time period when I was teaching in a school. So usually I'm teaching one-to-one. So I never needed to do that. So I use different techniques, but it's a very interesting technique. When I heard you saying that, I really loved the idea. It's a really good experience for a classroom setup.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Shireen, I have watched you do some of your teaching. What age range do you like working with the most?
Anyone who's committed to learning and who wants to learn, because I have taught my own kids, and now my eldest one is 28, youngest one is 13. So I've taught all age groups. I have taught university students. So I'm a passionate teacher, and anyone who wants to learn, I love teaching them.
And you and I have spoken about that on at least one occasion. We are coming to the end. Do you have any other words that you want to leave our audience with before Ali turns red?
Teaching English in English. Yes, I am teaching English in English. That's something I do, especially with students who do know English. But I was just referring to a few occasions where that extreme has been there. It's very rare. How can you teach Urdu in English and English in Urdu? But it's like, that's so flexible I am because I know Turkish language and English and Urdu. So it's like a combination I use wherever needed.
I can very much understand, Shireen, about your struggle, because I am an Urdu native as well. And the reason I produced Kijruka was that I was looking in the market and there was no resource that could connect children to first their language and then second language, L1 and L2 in terms of linguistics.
Amara, thank you. Ali has turned red. He has also flashed, and once he's flashed, I am supposed to step in. So sorry. I mean, the conversations have been absolutely amazing today. And I need to bring the conversation to Afura, who works for the British Council, and she's a trainer. And I'm wondering what she has to say about teaching English and helping people feel comfortable speaking in English. Farah, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Carla, for having me being part of this conference with such great panelists. I am from Islamabad, Pakistan, and it is a great honor to be among these panel speakers who have shared their stories, their experiences, their thoughts, in their own speaking styles. And that's the beauty of language. That's the beauty of literature. That's the beauty of this communication, that we get to share our ideas and expressions, and we get to see the world from another's perspective, from another's eyes. So that's the beauty of it. I would like to share here, recently I attended a conference, a public speaking conference of Toastmakers here in Pakistan, where the key speaker who came on discussed about his struggles with public speaking due to his stammering. And me being a guest at the session, the introduction we got was the work he did, his qualifications. I had no idea about his background and about his situation. So when he came on, the first impressions were looking at him. He appeared a bit nervous. He took time to think before he spoke. He spoke slowly. He spoke very simple sentences, very simple words, and he took long pauses. So for somebody who is new to the session, the first impression came to my mind was, he seems nervous. But being an English language instructor and trainer myself, I know for non-native speakers to speak in English and be in front of the audience, be in front of the camera, they take their time to settle, to adjust, and they move on from there. So they do develop confidence, but they take their time. So I told myself, you know what? I'm not gonna judge, because I know how non-native speakers have a difficulty coming and challenges they face. So I said, I'm going to just listen to him. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad that I did, because if I hadn't done that, if I had left it right there, I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned from that session. So the first thing we need to do when we're going into a session with people who are non-native speakers, who are slow to speak, who take their time to deliver the sentences, is to put that image, put that judgment outside the door, outside the window. Listening throughout his sessions and how he overcame the challenges of public speaking, challenges of being judged upon because of the way he spoke. It was not just inspirational, but also it helped me realize that how important not just listening carefully to a person, but actually listening patiently to a person is. So at times when we are listening to speakers, we get impatient. We're listening to a lecture, we get impatient. So what we need to do is be patient. At times we're actively listening, but we get impatient. And if I can give an example is, imagine you give a new book to a child, and a pictorial book, and the first thing they do is go through all the pages. Oh, this page I like, I want to talk about this. But we need to understand that patience is how we learn. So understanding requires patience, and learning requires patience, because learning is an ongoing process. So you cannot say, now I've learned. It's an ongoing process. You keep learning. For that, you need to give yourself the time to learn and enjoy the learning process while you're at it. Enjoy the learning process. So another thing from this session that I'm really, really passionate about is inclusion. To have people of different backgrounds, different personalities and attributes to come on and talk about their experiences, being somebody who can speak well, for me, I can never understand and can never relate to that unless I can listen to somebody who is discussing about it. So for me, that was such a productive and informative session. And I learned to, people who are non-native speakers, people who have stammering or other pronunciation or other kind of abilities that we need to give them the time, the comfort, so that they can come and show us the world through their views, because they have a lot to share. They have a lot to share, and it's a beautiful world through their eyes. Well, another thing from his session, I'm referring to his session is because it was such an inspirational session in so many ways. It's not having inclusivity just in terms of the speakers, but also in terms of the listeners. So when you are a non-native listener, the first thing for anybody to do is to realize you may not be able to understand some of the language that is being used that we discussed earlier as well. Some of the speakers spoke about terms that you're not familiar with. The thing about his speech was his words he used were very simple. His sentences were really short. The people who were non-native speakers, I'm pretty sure they enjoyed his session. They understood his session because those were simple sentences, simple words we use every day, we see every day, we are exposed to every day. So listening to him, I'm sure they learned. And the pauses, I feel like they would have helped them understand the meaning behind his message. So inclusivity, not just for speakers, but also for listeners. And that's important for any speaker and any listener. We need to include them. So because it's human nature to feel valued, to feel respected, to feel cared for. Because when you give that to somebody, because when you give them the care and the value, you'll be amazed how motivated people get. You'll be amazed how eager they are to learn and the way they want to learn. So that's my message at the end of any session, is to include them. That's what I'm passionate about. Not only does that bring people together, it bridges any misconceptions and makes this world a global community that it is today. So we need to have these conversations, to have this communication. And for that, we need to have an open heart and open mind and eagerness to learn so that we can grow. Open heart and open mind, like Kathleen, Cynthia said yesterday. So we need to have an open heart, think from the heart. We need to have that, and to include people in our conversations, because we learn from everybody that we meet. We learn from people from different backgrounds. Like today, we learned from so many people here. We have somebody from US, we have somebody from Vietnam, we have somebody from Canada, somebody from Pakistan. And this is how we are learning and we're growing. And it's an ongoing process. So for me, at the end of, and I would conclude my speech with the fact we need to listen carefully and patiently and include everybody in our conversations. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You did very well. Who would like to ask her a question? We have some questions from Facebook also.
Sure.
I can do.
Okay.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
Afira, since you and I are Pakistani native, you do understand that in our culture, how people take English, and that there is a certain language shaming culture attached when people can't actually speak English in a correct way. I want you to suggest some of the techniques, because we just have learned that confidence is the key. Now, you are language shamed on the stages when you are trying to, taking baby steps and you're trying to learn. How do you overcome that thing? Now that you are mature, now that one is grown up, they are willing to learn, but those things are, already in our, they stay with us. How do you suggest that? I am only asking this because you and I are from the same culture, so I think you can understand
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amara, trust me when I say this, you're not the only one. And I've had students working at Perlitz as English language instructor who have faced the same challenges you're facing. It happens. People who want to speak, the reluctance is there because they feel like people would make fun of them. So we need to, first of all, believe in ourselves, is what I tell my learners. Believe in ourselves. If you want, nobody else will. So you need to put other people's perceptions, their beliefs, and what they think aside. If you want to learn, you're learning for yourself. You're not learning for anybody else. You're not learning to impress somebody. You're learning for your personal growth, for your professional growth. So to do that, you need to, first of all, train your mind to put that aside. Secondly, for that, I do what I call is a control of bubble activity. You make a bubble where you put the things that are in your control and things which are not in your control outside the bubble. And when you do that, you realize you cannot control other people. You can only control what you do and how you react. So how you can train yourself to do that is practice at home. Practice. What we used to do is have people practice speak to each other. For it really helps if you're speaking to somebody of the same proficiency level as you. If you can find somebody, that would be great. If you cannot, then a very good technique is to talk to yourself, record yourself, and then listen to yourself. Because then you start listening to where you can correct yourself. And trust me, that not only helps you improve your confidence, but also helps you correct yourself. You start learning and start improving yourself. So start doing that. If you can find a partner, that would be great. But if you can't do that, then you can do this particular technique that I always tell all of my learners to do that. And of course, I think somebody suggested this yesterday as well. Listening, expose yourself to the language as much as possible. Listening to music, listening to native speakers, watching shows. Expose yourself to that culture so that you can adapt to that language. Adapt and start understanding and improve yourself, because at the end of the day, you are doing this for yourself. So you need to keep that in mind before you and put everybody's judgments aside, because this is for you. I hope that answered your question.
I think it did, Amara. We are 6 minutes away from the end of the conference. And Ali still has not spoken. So Ali, would you like to add maybe 3 minutes before we close the conference for the day?
Okay, I'll do my best to do that. Well, first of all, a very good day, everyone. This is Ali Reza Khan. I'm sure a lot of you are already very familiar with me and know about me, and a lot of you are not, which is okay, and we don't have time for that. So I'd like to share a story with you all. When I was 9 years of age, I was, for the very first time, assigned to speak on climate change in front of almost 1,000 people. A few days before the event, I was just fully confident and self-assured that I'm going to do an absolutely marvelous job. And I thought I'm going to nail it. I worked day and night on my speech. I memorized everything, and everyone was just confident on me. They say, you're going to nail it. My parents, my friends, my schoolmates, teachers, and everybody was sure that I would end up being an incredible speaker. Now, it was the day of the event. I woke up with great enthusiasm and excitement. I rushed to the auditorium, and after a few minutes, I was invited on stage to finally deliver the speech. Now, here comes the most important thing. As soon as I reached the stage, I realized that my legs began to shiver. My hands were just shaking, and my whole body just started vibrating. Whatever I prepared, I literally forgot. I was just awkwardly embarrassed. I stood numb and still for a few seconds. And then somehow I did the speech. I don't exactly remember how, but I just did it. From that day forward, I did a promise with my 9-year-old self that I'm going to work on myself and my personality so much that one day I'll speak internationally and represent my country, my nation on international stage. For so many years, I constantly worked on my communication skills, eye contact, English language, accent, body language, and much more. And this is how I used to speak when I was 9 years of age. Listen carefully, let me switch. I've shared this yesterday also, but I'd like to share it today as well. Good morning, teacher. This is Ali Raza Khan. Today, the topic of my message is communication. I used to speak very similar to what this was exactly how I used to speak. So I worked on myself. It was just a lot of determination and intrepidness and also patience, as you guys were talking about it. But and yes, I got success. Because when you work harder than ever before, then success is just certain. It's certain. One day I got a call to speak nationally on climate change. I delivered the speech nationally. It was shown on television and I won a national award. But there was something that I would not just achieved. And that was in my bucket list. That was something that wasn't marked. One of my biggest dreams was to speak on Toastmasters International. And that was achieved just a few weeks ago when an angel named Carla Riechman, which we call her the giggle lady, came in my life. And she introduced me to another angel, Cynthia Stott. In my journey of learning soft skills, now, let me take you a little back. I met Cynthia Stott. I know, just 1 second. I met Cynthia and she invited me to the Toastmasters Leaders Worldwide, and where I met Rosaline, who introduced me to another global conference, another global community. So what you take away from my speech, I actually had a lot to share, but I'd like to conclude just by saying that correspondence and communication is extremely important, because when you learn to communicate well, you change. And if you will change, everything else will change for you. And you don't have to really change what's outside. All you have got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. So one last thing, if you learn to communicate well, no promotions, no problem. Money, no problem. Economics, no problem. Reputation, no problem. Success is something that you attract by the person you become. So remember, all the treasures, whether it is economic, financial, personal, every way you can possibly think of is by your own personal development. Thank you. And I just did my best to conclude on time.
You did beautifully, Ali. Thank you so very much. And I am so glad we were able to get everyone in. Unfortunately, we couldn't answer all the questions because these wonderful speakers had so much to say. So maybe we can continue this in 3 months with another global conference and some of the same speakers, and have a really good understanding of not only speaking, but also listening. And this is Carla, the Minister for English Literacy for the Insan Party in Pakistan, and my friend Rehan Allahwala, signing off for today. Thank you, everyone. And everyone who is a speaker, please hang out for a moment as we go offline. And I can't do it. Asma? Can you take us offline, please?